Welcome back, all you Fabricants and Fleshbags, to the super, not funny show reviews. And today we're going to be reviewing episode 7 of Reservation Dogs, coming to you from FX and Hulu. And it's entitled Stay Gold, Cheesy Boy. So, was it good? Was it bad? And should you be watching? Oh man, I always wonder every time I watch an episode of Reservation Dogs, can it get better than before? And like every time it says, hell yes, I can get better. And so that's what we have on this episode of Reservation Dogs. Cheese gets locked up. Not really locked up, but he gets sent to a boys' home, wayward boys' home, because he was hanging out with his uncle, who we saw previously that Bear worked with him on the roofing. They're hanging out at his house, and I guess the cops come and for whatever reason, SWAT team got to come in with flashbangs and everything to get a guy that has 2 weed plants. I don't know, but because he was there, he gets taken and sent to this boys' home. And it's not juvie, it's not jail or whatever, but it's very much you're here because you have to be because you got in trouble or whatever. Which is weird for Cheese because aside from the whole chip truck thing and everything, he's a pretty on the level kid. But so this essentially sets up a whole episode wherein Cheese gets his spotlight, which is one of the great things that Reservation Dogs does. It takes time to really sit with and examine the individual characters before bringing them together as a group to do things. It is one of the great strengths, one of the assets of the storytelling within this show. And it very much makes for an outstanding episode of TV. I'm going to say it straight out. I usually wait till the end to tell you how I feel. No, telling you straight up, this was outstanding. So many great emotional beats in here. It hits hard in so many ways. Some things that maybe you recognize, maybe you knew someone who went through this. Maybe you personally went through this. Or maybe none of that happened to you, but you can kind of understand the feeling of loneliness and isolation and being new, things being unfamiliar, but you're having to soldier on through it. And one of the things that this episode did in a great way is to really examine and expose the young man that Cheese is and who he's becoming and what formed him, what made him be the guy he is. And also, I think this is intentional. It's something that they have been building up to since the first season. Is really kind of showing who Daniel, the friend Daniel was, and the impact of him not as a person, but also his death, how it changed and affected the other members of the Reservation Dogs. And she's clearly that was a formative tragedy in his life that made him a better person. That he so eloquently puts into words near the end of the episode. And I'm not gonna. I'll get to that later. But this is really an episode that really shows how Cheese has grown as a person and why he is who he is and why he does the things he does. And so it's very strange to see him in this wayward boys' home, which is, it's run by, I forget the character's name, but Mark Maron plays the director of this, who's this weird pseudo-hippie, pseudo-authoritarian, that it's questionable whether he should be running the place, but he does kind of run it. And then you have a usual cast of characters who have been there. Some of them who have been there for a while. Some of them who are just getting there, but they are all sort of kind of stuck there, and they're not quite. They didn't get in trouble that was quite enough to get them in locked up, but not enough to let them go home either. And it's a depressing place that Cheese tries to make the best of it. I love the fact that you don't have a ton of time with these characters, these new characters. You don't have a ton of time with them, and yet you get to know them very intimately. The character Julio, who's been there for a long time, he's a long term stay, and he's been there so long that he's sort of, I don't know, he doesn't run the place, but he gets to kind of have more freedom. Um, you you have James, who's he hogs the phone. You know, you have Tino, who's he's aging out soon, but he's really he's kind of, his time there has kind of changed him, maybe for the better, and he's got kids and everything. And Cheese coming there, they are in a static position where everyone's kind of in their lane. Maybe they're not together. And Cheese as a person comes in and kind of upsets that balance. And he's kind of, if you think of in astrophysics, he would be like like a rogue body, a rogue planet that comes through and by virtue of its gravity pushes objects that normally would never interact together, such that Julio and Tino actually make a connection, that even though they've been there together for a while, they actually learn more about each other in a way that without without Cheese there would never have happened. Cheese brings his perspective on the world in a way that really opens their minds to maybe possibility. There's a point in Cheese comes in and he kind of just accept what's going on. He tries to make the best of it and everything like that. There's a point at which he makes a connection with Tino, and he finds out he has kids and everything like that. They talk about grandma, that he lives with, and he's like, yeah, old women hold it down. That's an understanding of how, especially in minority communities, because of the way that the quote justice system works, that poor and minorities are more often, males are more often penalized and locked up and taken away and all that. And so, yeah, the women are, and older women really are the ones that are holding down the families. And the recognition by Tino and by Cheese that that's true, it's something that bonds them together. The death of Daniel, again, something that really kind of bonds them together in that short amount of time. And so that when there's a they go through and they do the 12-step thing and whatever, and they're all, Cheese's ability to be honest and open is something that maybe opens the door for the other people to be later on. And even seeing like some of the kind of the messed up parts, like one of the guys being handcuffed and taken off to actual jail, that sort of thing. It kind of makes them all sit down and think about like what's their situation. And I love the fact that because Cheese is who he is, he's able to get Julio to sort of open up and let him get on the phone and call his his grandmother, not his real grandmother, the one he met in the first season. And he didn't call to say I need help or whatever, just called to let her know, hey, I was thinking about you, don't worry about me, I'm gonna be back, it's all good. Because he didn't want to worry her, because that's who Cheese is. He's so thoughtful and thinking of other people and trying to make sure that he's not something that's getting in the way of their their happiness, or just how they're making them feel bad or whatever. And so that all leads to to what I consider to be one of the most consequential conversations that we've had in this whole show, where Cheese is sitting down with Tino and with Julio. And Julio just says, why do you talk like you're, some white girl's Instagram? And Cheese has the opportunity to explain why he gives pronouns first, why he talks about, feelings and, working through your feelings and your difficulties and whatever. And how Daniel's, his suicide made him try to figure out what happened. Why would his friend do that? Why this person that he looks up to do this? What was going on? And to learn something. And as he said, I just thought that if I treated people the way they wanted to be treated, they would eventually do the same. And that entire bit. Like, and at the end of Julio says, "You're a good man, Cheese." And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't cry, but I got really close because that encapsulates not just why Cheese is the man, but why Cheese is the sort of person that changes the lives of people around him because he is trying to be the light in the world that he wants to see. And because Daniel died, it made him learn something about himself that he is now spreading to other people. And it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I watched that part several times because it hit so hard in so many ways and touched me personally. Um, there that could have been the whole episode too, and that'd have been great. Eventually, Big comes and gets him out and everything, but there's another part of this kind of the sort of the B plot that's very small part of B plot, wherein we see something that I suspected was going to happen, which was Jackie getting accepted into the fold. This started in the first two episodes, and then fifth episode. The previous episode, but now it really comes to play here, wherein she sees Cheese get taken away, and she's the one that goes to the to Willie Jack and to Bear to see about, hey, your friend, he's in trouble. Forget about our beef. That's what's important. And the fact that she's able to, in one quick thing, to bury the hatchet with Willie Jack, where they can be cool, right? That Willie Jack and Bear recognize that she's coming to them about their friend, and that maybe she's a friend too, right? And then they go get Alora and try to get her to help get him out too. And of course, their little scheme to get him out doesn't work, and their scheme to try to break him out doesn't work either. But because Cheese wants to do things the right way. But what it ultimately does is make them realize that Jackie's actually could be a good friend, that she's there for them, that she's, her connection with Cheese she made previously is a real one, and that collectively they could try to do something, which ultimately they do. They get Big to, aware of what's going on to get him out, and also to let Cheese's grandmother know what's going on so that he has some place to come to. And so that at the end, when he comes home, and they're all wearing free Cheese shirts, right? And the grandmother's waiting to give him a hug and welcome him because, the older women hold it down. And the love and cheerfulness and just relief to see him come home was just beautiful. I mean, I loved it. This episode, like that part right there, the way that the catharsis there, the way that really made you feel good about him coming home. It's like you watched your own brother or your son come home after a long time, and to welcome him with open arms and to cheer and to be happy. Like, I want one of those free Cheese shirts because I felt like felt like I was part of that. And this is true. I mean, I don't think it's an understatement to say this is one of the best shows on TV. It just makes me care so much about these kids, so much about what they're going through. Like, I love that they're dynamic, they're friends, they're found family. Let's call it what it is. They're found family. Their collective, understanding of the world is unique to me, but also feels very much like something I could have gone through, something I've been through or seen or whatever. And I just care about what's happening with them. And I love the fact that this, come to find out that the writer of this episode, this is written from personal experience, a personal experience of 2 years of its life, which he was in a group home similarly for something small and stupid. And what it says about not just the system, but also about the people in the system and how they overcome and how the family units, whatever, try to make everything, work. And that friends are important. Lifelong friends are extremely important. That there are always people that are doing time with these people that are doing time. and the love and the dedication, all of that plays into it. And I just love that the grandmother call, I don't know, I don't know the exact, but saying Japan when he comes in and you're here, let's show you your room. It's so beautiful. I could keep on going. I won't bore y'all with my gushing over this episode, but the point is, a stellar episode. Could be the best episode so far, but definitely one of the top 3 or 4 episodes in this show. Whoever's not watching this, I don't know what you're doing. But if you are watching this, you know what I'm talking about. And I cannot give it higher marks. It's a 10 out of 10, 5 stars, etc., etc. Loved it. So anyway, those are my thoughts on this episode. What did you guys think about it? And what did you think about what I had to say? Get down to the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. And, of course, you can always hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. And do me a favor, hit that like button on this. Helps with the YouTube algorithm. And, of course, subscribe. I would love for you guys to be a part of this channel. All right, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, thanks for joining me on this episode. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about Episode 8 of Reservation Dogs. Till then, I've been Mo de Poupée, resident fabricant and comic extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.